What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this I want to give you guys a quick update on the markets and break down how things are looking. Let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice, and also if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, and the offer ends in just about 2 weeks from now. Anyways, for the markets, we're actually seeing some interesting volatility. The market pushed quite a bit in the daytime approaching Jerome Powell's speech. Then right before he started speaking, the market started dipping a bit and then really started to dump as he started speaking, then rebounded only to come back down again. So we're starting to show some signs of weakness, especially on Tesla and also like other stocks like Nvda and Aapl. And with the weakness that's perpetuating, this actually happened after Jerome Powell's speech. So why is this happening? I want to break that down first before I talk about the charts. Powell gave his speech today, and for tomorrow, just as a reminder, there's not really much data coming out in the morning, so we don't really have to worry too much about anything like that. But with Powell's speech, Jerome Powell said some very, very interesting things. Most of what he said was kind of like obvious, nothing too new, but the market's still getting an interesting reaction. So it's possible the market pumped approaching his speech because it priced in a lot of what he was going to say. And then once Powell said things, he didn't really say anything too crazy. The market just started dipping a bit. And that's what sometimes happens with those like buy the rumor, sell the news events. So we're getting a very similar reaction to Jerome Powell's speech. So what's going on? Whoops, sorry about that, guys. What's going on with Jerome Powell? What's going on with his speech? I want to talk about that real quick. So Jerome Powell, he basically is saying that the Fed is not going to wait until inflation is down to 2% before cutting rates. They're going to actually cut rates earlier than that. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of lag in the reactions we get from the economy, right? They raised rates quite a bit. The economy did not just collapse instantly. It's slowly weakening. It's taking its time to do so. And we're starting to see unemployment going up slowly. That's something else that's worth noting. Also, Jerome Powell is not really implying that there will be a soft line or anything like that as much as before. So we don't know for sure. But in my personal opinion, what I personally think is that there's not going to be a soft landing. There's going to be more pain than what the Fed is kind of like showing us. But we haven't really heard much about that from the Fed. We're still waiting for them to say anything else like that. He did mention that there is contractions coming to the labor market, which is no surprise. I mean, this is what we expected for many, many, months, if not years. And on top of this, he's very confident inflation will go back down to 2% eventually. So that's something that's actually very, interesting, something that's more positive, at least for the markets. But a lot of what he said was probably priced in from the beginning. That's why we kind of like pumped initially before getting this little rug pull. So what do I see for us moving forward? What's my personal opinion? For SPY, watch the 50 EMA, this 561 area. If this fails, or if we close below this, I think we're easily going to fill this gap into 559s. So just be careful. There could be a little dip coming to SPY because of that. And then also, there is a risk of that. Make sure you watch resistance at 562, but this is looking a little bit more bearish to me. For Tesla, it's also looking more bearish. We have the 50 EMA at 254.8. If we lose that, we're going to be coming all the way down to fill this gap around 248. If we hold this, we could rebound to 257.8. I think the odds favor this is kind of dipping lower and eventually coming down to fill this gap. So that's looking more probable to me. So we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. So watch for that very carefully. For Nvda, we're on a bit of a downtrend move right here. We actually have a nice double top like structure. So I think that there is a risk of this kind of like popping then dropping lower. I think we could be dipping all the way down towards 126. We also have resistance around 129. But I think that we could pop it and drop lower. That's looking more probable to me. And Nvidia is showing some weakness right now relative to the markets because of what we heard from Powell and many other factors in the news about Nvidia. So I wanted to just mention that very briefly. Bitcoin's looking more bullish. It's going to be testing 64,000. If that breaks, we have another resistance coming up at 64,500. There is a chance that Bitcoin goes a little bit higher, but just be careful as we hit those resistance levels. Overall, it's still outperforming the market and doing a pretty good job, in my opinion. For others out there, we also have ES. ES, for those who are trading futures, just know that there's a little bit of weakness developing. We're barely holding our 20 EMA, this 56.91 area. If this breaks, I see us coming all the way down to 56.84. Just be very mindful of that. It's kind of shuffling right now, which is why SPY is also trying to hold up. But just be careful. We'll have to see how this kind of leads SPY. For the QQQ is also showing some weakness. We actually have this kind of like bearish divergence, double top like structure. And if we lose 495, we're going to be dipping all the way down to the imbalance at 492. The resistance at 497, that breaks, we're going up to 500. I think there's a risk of this dipping down to 495, then eventually lower levels. So we'll see how things go. On top of all of this, I just want to mention that Tesla still showing some weakness. We're actually losing our 50 EMA. So we have this gap to fill all the way down here towards 248. I want to see this get back up 257 to turn bullish. If we fail to do so, we're going to be dipping all the way down to fill this gap. So just be mindful of that. For Aapl Apple is showing some weakness as well. We're barely holding this 20 EMA. If we lose this, I think we could be tipping down to 233. So watch for that very carefully. It's looking a little bit more probable to be bullish. You want to break past 236, but we're looking more bearish to me. For Supermicro, we failed to actually maintain our structure above 900. We actually lost that. Now we're going to be testing 900 as resistance. So there's a risk of us dipping back down towards 891. I could be looking for a little bit of downside on Supermicro. For the IWM Russell 2000, we have a double top leg structure forming at 218. We might see a little retracement to 216.5 to 217, then a bounce. But I do think that it's on a nice uptrend, even if it does dip a little bit. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. For Coinbase, we basically have this resistance around this 245 area. If we reject here, we'll be looking for 237. We also have this resistance all the way up here that's building. So I do see a risk of Coinbase kind of turning. It's still doing a good job at holding up, so it could dip a bit and then try to bounce. But overall, not bad of a job from it. Just be careful at that tough resistance at 245. For Amazon, lo and behold, we did end up hitting the 192 area. I was looking at that as a target. We actually went a little bit lower towards like the 191 area, so a little bit lower. So there's a risk of this dipping. We're actually looking a little bit more bearish on the 30 minutes time frame. And I am seeing a risk of this potentially dipping lower. On the 4 hour, just real quick, same thing is developing. We still look kind of weak. Could continue to dip lower towards 190. Meta is in a critical place right now, guys. Not looking too good. We're actually losing our 200 EMA. Tomorrow we have to reclaim 497. If we fail to reclaim it, there's going to be a bigger drop coming all the way down towards, I would say, this zone right here. 480 could be coming on Meta if we fail to hold 497. So watch 492 first, of course, and then 480. But just note there is a risk of downside for Meta. For Microsoft, there's also a risk of downside. We're going to be looking at 450 to be tested. We'll see if we bounce off that or not, but there is a risk of that. Google's also kind of rejecting if we fail to hold above our 20 EMA. I'll be looking for 187.25. So we'll see what ends up happening here. That's going to be another very, very important case. So that being said, guys, I'm seeing some weakness in the markets. We're starting to dip a bit. With Jerome Powell's speech, we pumped initially, then we ended up dumping. They're just moving the market using Jerome Powell as the excuse, but now we're starting to show some signs of the market, facing some tough resistance and kind of slowing down a little bit more. So that being said, just know that for tomorrow, there's not really anything too crazy that's coming out. And finally, we don't have Jerome Powell giving a speech for a day. He's been giving a lot of speeches, and it's finally time for the market to get like a different reaction. So that's what we're starting to see. As far as Tesla in the market goes, I'm seeing some risks of some downside, at least for now, but we'll see if this ends up lasting as we approach some very, very key levels. So that being said, I will be back in just a couple of hours for one more update for the day. Until then, take care, guys. Just know the market closes in about 15 minutes. Until then, do what's best for your own portfolios. Be very, very mindful of what's about to come and always manage risks, not financial advice. All right. So have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys in just a couple of hours. Stay strong no matter what happens around the world when it comes to geopolitics and anything like that. Stay strong, guys. Never give up. And I'll see you guys very soon in just a couple of hours. Thank you for listening, and peace out.